Coming up on Mountain News this morning, an eastern Kentucky community is in mourning after an ATV crash takes the life of a small child. As more people head out to lakes or pools, it's best to keep safety in mind so fun on the water doesn't turn into tragedy.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
On this Juneteenth, it's a minute after 6. Hi, Jim Freeman along. Glad you're along. And Shane Smith is along, our meteorologist this morning, talking some weather. It's backup day. We're the sixth men today, I guess.
Yeah, they brought in the B team today.
There you go.
We're happy to be here. And not so happy about the rain we're dealing with. A little bit of soggy conditions out there this morning. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on Pinpoint Doppler. Notice a lot of those oranges and reds showing up. That is some moderate to heavy rain. We'll start off right now back up into portions of West Virginia over towards Wayne. You can see a little heavy rain. We slide off to the west. There near Frenchburg and Campton, another little bit of a heavier shower. Sliding on down the road towards Corbin, we are dry. A little shower action over in eastern Knox County from Burning Springs to Manchester, a little light rain and some showers extending back up from McKee over towards Berea, and that rain continuing to lift off to the east and the northeast, all part of an area of low pressure which is rolling across the southern half of the Commonwealth this morning, and it's a slow mover through, so we're going to keep those showers around in off and on fashion for most of the day. And also, where we're not dealing with the rain, dealing with some dense fog down to 1 mile visibility here in Hazard. You can see a little bit of that fog in the mountains from our studio camera, also showing up there from our Buffalo Mountain camera. Elsewhere across the region, dry to the east, showers down in the Cumberland Valley. Everyone will pick up on the rain by this afternoon, though, as temperatures go from the mid-60s right now into only the upper 70s. So grab that umbrella and jacket. A cool, wet day in store, and there's some more cooler and wet weather in the forecast. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes, Jim.
Thanks, Shane. Everybody getting raindrops. An ATV crash in Pike County left a 3-year-old child dead. It happened Thursday night along the Hillbilly ATV trail system in Dorton. Matt Lakritz talks with those at the trail about how they're feeling in the aftermath of the tragic situation.
The death of a 3-year-old boy after an ATV crash at Hillbilly Trails has those in Pike County, Kentucky, mourning his death. Clifford Atkins lives near the entrance of the ATV trail and says he and his wife first found out about the crash on social media.
Everybody's heart is going out to these people. It's so sad.
Kentucky State Police say the initial call came in a little before 10 Thursday night, reporting an ATV collision at the Hillbilly Trail system in the Dorton community. Police say their initial investigation indicates a 25-year-old had been driving on the trail with a 3-year-old when the ATV overturned. The 3-year-old died at a hospital. Atkins says he occasionally hears about injuries on the trail, but hardly ever death, let alone a child.
Just such sadness for the family and the child. I hadn't had a chance to even have a life yet.
That was Matt Lakritz reporting. ATV riders in the area say this is a tragic loss and hope incidents like this do not happen again in the future. The 3-year-old has not been identified by police. One man is dead following a crash in Knott County. Kentucky State Police say Gary Ambergy died in the crash on Saturday. The crash happened on Kentucky 1393. Troopers say Ambergy was driving south when a tree fell onto the road and hit his car. Ambergy was pronounced dead at the scene by the Knott County Coroner's Office. A teenager is dead after drowning in the Morgan County part of Paintsville Lake. The Morgan County coroner tells us the 16-year-old boy was from Magoffin County and was swimming with friends near the Lost Creek boat ramp. The investigation is being handled by the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources Law Enforcement Division. His body was taken to the medical examiner's office at Frankfort for an autopsy. His name has not been released. The official start of summer is this week, even though the weather may not be feeling like it right now. As the temperatures increase, so do the numbers of people hitting the lake or pool. But as Samantha Valentino shows us, it's important to make sure that you and your children are staying safe in the water.
This time of year, water safety is the top of mind for everybody.
Paula Anderson is the president and CEO of YMCA of Central Kentucky. She says the biggest thing for parents to do when spending time with their children around any body of water is to keep your eyes on the water and your child.
Supervise them if they're in the water. It's just Drowning can happen so fast.
And unfortunately, it happens often. According to the CDC, drowning is the leading cause of death for children ages 1 through 4. Each year in the United States, there are an estimated 4,000 fatal unintentional drownings. That's an average of 11 per day.
You can have fun and still be safe, and I think that's a really important point. But it's not fun when you have a tragedy in the water. And to avoid that tragedy, all of us have that responsibility to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep everyone safe.
Anderson says there are a few things you can do to make sure your children are staying safe, like teaching them at a young age to always ask for permission before getting into any body of water, making sure they're wearing a U.S. Coast Guard approved life preserver, and enrolling them in swimming lessons.
Doesn't mean that something couldn't happen, but it does give them the skills they need to respond if they're in the water that's deeper than they are.
Experts also recommend having basic CPR skills to make sure you're prepared in case of an emergency. In Lexington, Samantha Valentino,
Thank you, Samantha. As of 2020, CDC figures show Kentucky has had a higher than average rate of drownings compared to the national average. In a region already struggling with a low amount of housing, downtown Hazard fire survivors are going through a long process finding places to live. Several people are still staying at a hotel here in Hazard with the help of nearby nonprofits and donations from the community. They're trying to regain needs. Nonprofit Rescue's daughter founder Kate Clemens, who's been working directly with the survivors, says they've been actively looking for a while.
We are working very hard to find permanent housing. So as of today, we have 6 families that we've been able to place in long-term housing, but we still need to find that for over double the amount.
Perry County Emergency Management has arranged for 10 travel trailers to be placed at Perry County Park for the survivors. Corrective work is expected to begin on a roundabout project in Whitley County today. The project area will extend from Kentucky 2987 to the I-75 overpass. It will include lane closings on both the north and southbound sides of US 25 West. But one lane of traffic will be open at all times and controlled by flaggers. It's expected to be completed by Saturday, and you should expect significant delays. If you own an electric vehicle in Kentucky, you may soon have more charging stations available. Last week, Governor Andy Beshear announced he wants proposals from the private sector to help the Bluegrass State expand its EV charging network. This effort would put up to 37 stations across Kentucky highways. Proposals must include EV stations that are open 24 hours a day and 7 days a week.
It is 6:09 on this Juneteenth. We are tracking showers rolling through the mountains this morning. Here's a live look at Pinpoint Doppler, and you can see some heavier rain developing across portions of the mountains. We'll zoom in right now. You can see over towards McKee and Berea, some heavier showers lifting off to the east and northeast. Mount Vernon, you've got a heavier cell heading your way. Some light to moderate rain right now in Somerset. Light rain from Manchester down to Pineville. That will head over towards Harlan and Hyden over the next hour or so. And as that rain continues to lift off to the east and the northeast, temperatures will only top out today into the upper 70s. Then by 11 o'clock tonight, we are heading back down into the 60s. And the forecast looks to remain soggy over the next several days. We'll talk about that more in just a few minutes here, Jim.
Okay, Shane. And thanks for joining us from Mountain News this morning. More news is on the way. Coming up, the holiday weekend turns deadly as more than a dozen shootings take place across the U.S. We'll have details when we come back.